Hi everyone, my name's Jordan and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my May TBR. As a lot of you know, I've talked about it in other videos and I've talked to a bunch of people about it, my May is kind of nuts. It is jam-packed. I am going to visit my husband's family in Japan for about 2 weeks, and I have a lot of big books that are like required reading this month, and I'm certain I won't get as much reading time in Japan as I typically get on a day-to-day basis. So with that, I only have 4 books on my TBR because these are the books I have to read, and then I have some MBR books of books I would like to try to get to if I have the time. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up is a book I am currently reading, and that is Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. This is the 3rd book in Malazan Book of the Fallen. I am co-hosting a read-along of this entire series with Alex from Tall Guy Reads, Josh from Red Fury Books, and Ian from Ian the Reader. We're doing about 2 a month because they're huge, and we recently just had our Dead House Gates live chat about the book with Alan from the Library of Alexandria, so I will post that discussion down below. I'll link it down below. I'm not super far into Memories of Ice yet. I'm probably like 11% or something according to my e-reader, and I'm liking it a lot so far. I've heard that this is the one where a lot of people like really get hooked, and that it's a little more digestible than the first 2. And so far I agree with that. I kind of have a grip on the world a little bit. I have a familiarity with some of the characters being discussed. So a bunch of the new characters that are being introduced, I don't feel as overwhelmed with because I've been with some of the characters. And I also understand some of the politics and what's been going on around the world. So I am feeling a lot better reading this one, but it is a huge book. My e-reader says I have 15 hours left, and the first week of May, which is before I leave for Japan, I have something going on like every single day after work. So I don't have a lot of time to read before I go to Japan, and then I'm not going to have a lot of time to read in Japan. So basically, this book might take up a lot of my month. I will have a 14-hour flight, so I'm going to try to read a bunch of it then, but I'll be fooling myself if I think I'm going to read for all 14 of those hours. I'm going to also probably watch some shows or what have you, or play on my Switch, whatever, listen to audiobooks. So this might take up a big chunk of my month. But if you don't know what Malazan Book of the Fallen is, it is a huge series. It is a 10-book series of these giant tomes of books, and it's kind of hard to talk about like what it's really about, but it is a high fantasy, jam-packed with magic, very political story that is definitely talked about as like a very unapproachable series just because it's kind of dense, and the writing is definitely not dense. The writing is very approachable. It's just you're kind of dropped into the world in the first book, so it's kind of hard to get your footing for a little bit. But it is a very character-rich, plot-rich, lore-rich story that I'm very much so enjoying so far, and I'm very, very excited to continue reading Memories of Ice. Next up, I have my 12 books recommended by 12 booktubers selection, and I will put the spinner wheel here if I have it. And the winner of that one was Pines by Blake Crouch. This was recommended to me by Theo over on Rekindled Reader. This book will be my first Blake Crouch book, and I will be 1000% honest, I know nothing about it. Which I'm trying to keep that way. I don't want to know a lot about it. I'm trying to go into it blind because my preconceived notions about Blake Crouch are kind of specific, and I think this one is a little different than what my idea of what his books are. So, I don't know. I want to go into it pretty blind. I know that this is kind of a shorter book, so I'm hoping to read this pretty quickly, and I'm really, really, really hoping I love it. I know this is the first of a series, and so if I love it, I'm going to continue with the series, and we'll see. I know that Blake Crouch is one of Theo's favorites, and he has a whole video about like where to start with Blake Crouch, and I think it's a very helpful video, and I just haven't gotten around to starting Blake Crouch, so this is a perfect first introduction. So thank you, Theo, for the recommendation. Next up is a continuation of my buddy read that I'm doing with Alex from Tall Guy Reads and Kyle from Read by Kyle, and that is Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is the first book of the 2nd series in the Red Rising saga. We recently read Morningstar. I believe Kyle is actually still reading it. and I did really enjoy it. I'll talk about that more in my wrap up. We're reading one a month in preparation for the new book coming out this summer. I know that there's a big time gap before Iron Gold. What the series is about, I'll do that first. The series is about a man named Darrow who is part of a cast of people called Reds that live on Mars and are trying to get Mars ready for human habitation. However, when his wife dies, through his grief, he ends up wrapped up with a group called the Sons of Ares, which are trying to tear down this color-coded caste system that the world inhabits. And Darrow finds out that his entire life is a lie. There are all these different colors based on like their professions and stuff, the highest being golds. And so Darrow is basically, his body is engineered to be a gold, and he is infiltrating the gold caste and trying to tear it down from within. So it's a big like story about revolution and things like that. And it gets very, very dark a lot of the time, but I'm very much so enjoying it. And I'm excited for Iron Gold because of where Morningstar ended. I feel like Iron Gold is going to be a very interesting departure from where Morningstar ended, because again, there's a big time gap, so we're gonna get I'm hoping a lot more of the like political machinations, because so far there's been a lot of like war, it's been a lot of fighting, it's been a lot of political machinations, but war focused, and I'm wondering if Iron Gold is still gonna be that, or if it's gonna be more like desk work political machinations, you know, like, so I'm kind of interested to see what branch this goes off on. Next up is my Patron pick for the month. If you would also like to help pick my TBR every month, you can join my Patreon. I will link it down below. And the pick this month that won was An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. This will be, 1, my first River Solomon book, and 2, a book I don't know a lot about. But I have seen this cover around, and I've heard good things about it, but I don't know what it's about. I know that the person that picked this for me, Eric, he is also reading it, and he has already started it, and he's liking it a lot so far. So I'm very excited. One of my 12 books recommended to me by 12 booktubers is a River Solomon book, so this will be my first one, and then I will have kind of an idea of going into that next one. I believe this is a sci-fi book, but I could be totally wrong. It could just be fantasy. But I think it's sci-fi, and I'm very, very excited to read it. The cover is beautiful, and thank you, Eric, for this pick. Now for my MBR, my Might Be Read books. These are some other read-alongs going on that I am interested in joining if I can, and there's also some potential buddy reads or just series I'm trying to continue. So let's get into those. The first one is The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. This is the first book in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. This is like a classic fantasy series that I know Petrick over on Petrick Leo and Alex from Tall Guy Reads are co-hosting this read-along of the series, and I want to try to get to it. It's kind of a big book. I have the audiobook on hold, but it's like 33 hours, and I don't know how much time I'm going to have while in Japan to listen to audiobooks, and I know that if I like go days between listening, I will probably not enjoy the book as much. So I'm not sure if I want to have a 33-hour audiobook as my Japan audiobook choice. So we'll see if I get to this one. I really want to. This is a running theme of this video, I guess, but I don't know a lot about this one either. And I know that can be a little frustrating as a viewer, trying to like pick a book on your TBR. But a lot of the times I find the less I know about a book going into it, the more I allow myself to enjoy it, because I don't have a lot of preconceived notions and what everyone else has thought about a book. So I apologize, but this is a pretty famous series and I'm very excited to get to it. If I don't get to it in May, I'll try it later in the year. I don't know if it'll be right after in June, but we'll see. I am excited to read it and I do want to get to it soon. Another MBR is The Ninth Reign by Jen Williams. This is a series I've been wanting to get to for so long. This is a series that I first heard about over on Elliot Brooks' channel, and she said it's basically like just very bizarre, strange fantasy, but very good. And I've been meaning to get to it, but now Alex over on Tall Guy Reads, his patron pick of the month was Ninth Reign. And I was like, well, dang, because I also really want to read this. And me, Alex, and Kyle have this problem where we're all codependent on each other and we can't read books alone. So I was like, well, now I feel like I should read this with you, but I don't know if I can. So I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get to this towards the end of the month and read it with Alex, just so I have somebody to talk about the book with. So we'll see. If I don't get to it, sorry, Alex, don't wait up for me, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try very hard. Last up on my MBR is Proven Guilty by Jim Butcher. This is the 7th book? I don't remember, 7th or 8th book in the Dresden Files. And this is a series that I really want to continue because I've heard that I'm getting close to the parts where it gets really, really amazing. And Alex ditched me. We were supposed to buddy read this in June, and then he was like, actually, I'm gonna just go ahead and continue on, and he's read like 4 of them now since this, so thanks, Alex. But anyway, so I'm gonna try to get to this month. I think this is a perfect vacation read because a lot of the Dresden books are a little easier to digest. They're shorter. They're not incredibly complex, not so complex that I have a hard time following. And so if I do have to go a few days without reading, I feel like I can pick it back up in the middle and still know what was going on. So I think this is a perfect vacation read, but I'm starting to feel like Memories of Ice might be the book I'm reading like the entire time I'm in Japan. We'll see. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping I can finish it pretty quickly at the beginning of the vacation. So Proven Guilty might be my next ebook read. Although I also want to read Iron Gold physically because I think the, like, Morning Star, I didn't love as much as I did Golden Sun, and I think it's because I couldn't connect as well via the audiobook. So I want to read Iron Gold physically. I don't know, guys. This month is a toss-up. We'll see how it goes. That is all the books on my TBR and MBR. I know it is not a whole lot. I know I typically have a lot more books on these lists, but my May is nuts, and I am worried about even getting to the 4 books on my must-read TBR. So we're gonna do our best out here, everyone. Thank you guys for watching. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know down below what you are reading in May. If any of these you are also reading, let me know. If you really like my content, please hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post new videos. I also have a Patreon now where you can vote for my TBR. There are Patron exclusive reading sprints and a few other perks, and I will link that down below if you would like to join. Thank you guys for watching. As always, your support means the world to me, and until next time, thank you guys.